Just before midnight on June 25, 1975, the electricity to India's major newspaper printing presses was abruptly cut. In this sudden darkness, the world's largest democracy suspended the fundamental rights of over 600 million people. At the time, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi held near absolute control over her party and the government. Bolstered by a decisive military victory over Pakistan and a massive parliamentary majority, she was seen by many as the unquestioned Empress of India. But that control was being tested by a failing economy and widespread social unrest. Student-led movements and a massive nationwide railway strike began to paralyze the country, with opposition leaders like Jayaprakash Narayan calling for a total revolution to transform the state. The growing threat to the government was no longer coming from a foreign invader. Instead, the leader who had stood at the center of the democracy for nearly a decade was preparing to use the powers of her office against the citizens she was elected to serve. The breaking point arrived on June 12, 1975, when the Allahabad High Court found the Prime Minister guilty of election malpractice. The court ordered her seat vacated and banned her from contesting any election for 6 years. Refusing to step down, Gandhi turned to the Indian Constitution itself. She invoked Article 352, a provision intended for wartime or external threats, to declare a state of internal emergency. This legally allowed the executive branch to bypass the judiciary and the parliament to exercise unchecked control. The president signed the decree in the dead of night, bypassing the cabinet entirely. Most ministers only learned of the suspension the next morning, by which time the police had already begun arresting the prime minister's political rivals. A constitutional failsafe designed to protect the nation in times of war had been weaponized to protect a single political career. Normal governance was immediately replaced by rule by decree. This allowed Gandhi to rewrite laws and even amend the constitution through ordinances, direct executive orders that required no parliamentary debate or oversight. Mass arrests swept the country. Within months, more than 100,000 people, including journalists, trade unionists, and nearly all of Gandhi's political opponents, were placed in prisons. To justify these actions, the state relied on draconian preventive detention laws, like the Maintenance of Internal Security Act, or MISA. These laws allowed the government to hold citizens indefinitely without a trial or even a formal charge. The administration processed every arrest and constitutional amendment through the existing bureaucratic machinery, using the legal code to dismantle the civil liberties it was supposed to protect. This vacuum of accountability allowed for the rise of Sanjay Gandhi, the Prime Minister's younger son. Despite holding no official office, he emerged as an extra-constitutional authority, wielding state power with no legal or public oversight. Sanjay spearheaded an aggressive urban renewal program, most notably in Delhi. State bulldozers demolished entire low-income neighborhoods to beautify the city, displacing 700,000 impoverished citizens without due process or alternative housing. He also drove a state-sponsored mass sterilization campaign. Government officials were given strict quotas to meet, leading to the widespread use of coercion and force to compel poor men to undergo vasectomies in makeshift medical camps. This chart shows annual vasectomies in India. Before the emergency, the number stood at 2.7 million. Under the pressure of the new regime, that figure jumped to 8.3 million in a single year. When executive power is unchecked at the highest levels, legal loopholes inevitably translate into physical violence against a nation's most vulnerable citizens. In January 1977, Gandhi made a miscalculation. Believing the opposition was broken and her popularity had been restored, she suddenly released political prisoners and called for fresh elections. The opposition movement unified almost immediately, framing the vote as a binary choice between democracy and dictatorship. Despite 21 months of censorship and state terror, the public response was overwhelming. This seating chart shows the change in the Lok Sabha after the 1977 election. Gandhi lost her own seat, and her party suffered a historic landslide defeat, managing to win only 154 seats across the entire country. The Indian public had successfully used the ballot box to remove a dictator. Morarji Desai took office as the first non-Congress Prime Minister in India's history. The democratic system began to reboot, and the new government moved to ensure the emergency could never be repeated. The primary legal legacy of this era was the cementing of the Basic Structure Doctrine by the Supreme Court. This doctrine established an uncrossable legal boundary. It ensures that Parliament can never again use its amendment power to alter the core democratic spirit of the Constitution. While this doctrine provides a legal guardrail, the 21-month period demonstrated that a constitution is only as strong as the citizens who insist on its enforcement. In the end, the only true failsafe of any democracy is the relentless vigilance of its people.